Hello everyone, thank you for joining us once again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you're listening. It's another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. This week it is myself, Matthew Barber, and my dear friend and learned colleague, Joseph Druitt. Say hello, Joe.
Hi everyone.
Bingo. Concise. Love it. This week let's do another Italian cliche, shall we? We're living La Dolce Vita.
Love it. Love it.
We got off to Bella Italia again. We are tasting, examining, reviewing, thinking about Menabrea, premium Italian beer. But before we do that, I am, as usual, going to pass to Joe and we'll do a hot topic. So over to you, Joe.
Thanks so much, Matt. Right, well, I think this is a very topical hot topic, if I do say so myself. There's a recent study that's just come out on Sunday, the 26th of March, i.e. the day of recording today. So it's right on the money. And this is a study about drinking habits in the UK, which obviously we're all quite interested in.
Yeah, I'm familiar with.
The synopsis of this research, which has been carried out by Vault City Brewing, which we all know our favourite Edinburgh-based, sour beer manufacturer.
Yeah.
Some wacky beers up there, like the mango raspberry Melba sour beer.
I remember this.
Those.
Yeah.
So they've done some research of a whole host of different cities, from Norwich, Sheffield, London to Birmingham, or even Glaswegians themselves, where they've basically kind of concluded, the synopsis being that lockdown has made the UK more curious when it comes to testing out a new tipple. So they have found, and again, this makes sense because they are all in on a newish area of tipples, which are sour beers, which has come back with popularity with a vengeance. And they've basically concluded that, hey, people like us. We've gone out and we've asked people, do they like us and other beers? And people have come back and said, yeah, actually, I'm quite open to trying new things. So, yeah, I think it's I don't know. I think that's a good sign. I think it's a good thing. People open to trying new things.
Yeah, you should, always be prepared to broaden your horizons. I think we, anecdotally, are probably like an example of that as well.
Yeah,
I think us also doing this has made me try stuff that I never would have before, probably some Vault City stuff itself. And I think that's probably fair, again, anecdotally, out of people I talk to. People I know would sort of actually be like, oh yeah, I'll try that. Or people asking each other, oh, have you tried this new beer? Someone came to me to ask me about Kuna, again, possibly with the context of knowing that we do this. But yeah, again, variety is the spice of life, right?
I think so. And I think if we're, obviously you kind of anecdotally think about your own experiences and what you're seeing around me and yourself. And I feel like we, as you were saying, through the podcast have exploded our kind of exploration of beers, right? Because we're seeking out new things, we're trying stuff. But if we're using ourselves as a benchmark, but then watering it down ever so slightly for the average person, I feel like that means that they still are trying things, because we're trying, we're on one end of the spectrum because of what we do, but it just means that other people at the other end of the spectrum are still probably, instead of having their usual beer, they've maybe tried one or two within the course of a couple of months, which is still more than they would have had beforehand. So, I don't know if it's fully that lockdown is the reason why that's happened. I don't fully agree that lockdown is the reason why everyone's trying different beers. I feel like it's just a coincidence, maybe a bit of a catalyst for some people, but I just think we know consumers have been wanting different variety of beers in a growing trend of more variety of beers for a long time now.
Yeah, and I suppose they got enough purchasing power to have kind of, commanded, when you go into a pub. I keep seeing this, I think it's maybe a Twitter account I follow or something like that, when they go people rating different pubs' lineups.
Yes, yeah.
Of the draft beers that they have on tap, and essentially something that's got 4, that's 3 lagers and 1 cider, is like, this is a terrible lineup. As well as being, about people picking their favourites in combination with each other. But it's the trend at the moment, isn't it? And as Trappers would say, I'm here for it.
I think it's that, and I think it's being shown, as you were saying about the pubs. Pubs are being more adventurous with what they put on their taps as well, and I think that's a sign of this kind of consumers are demanding it, brewers are giving it, and places to buy it are also putting it out there. So yeah, I think it's a good economy. Well done, Vault City. Good research. Thumbs up, and yeah, we're on board.
Also vindicates us doing the podcast a little bit as well, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, with over 240 episodes now, I think there's quite a few tipples there people can try if they want to have a look back.
Yeah, big time.
And listen back on these.
Excellent. Well, good. Right.
Should we go all main up market and deliciousness now?
Let's do that, because not only is this great because we're doing this beer for the second time because of a recording issue, which that is we
will not point fingers at that, grabbers. Cough, cough, cough.
But that is fine with me, because Pursuit of Happiness today is Menabrea, which is another one I occasionally pull this thing out as they used to serve this in this pub I worked in ages ago, and they did. I very seldom had Menabrea because even with the staff discount, it was a pretty pricey tipple, but I think it's wonderful, and it was a really interesting example of in the growing, I think, popularity of the premium Italian sort of. I think they're calling themselves blonde beers, aren't they?
Yeah.
I would kind of still put them in the lager category, but they're still like a premium sort of lager. There are some which are sort of going quite hard on their "we are premium" credentials.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the really obvious Peroni. I don't know if Birra Moretti does it, but it certainly has the air of being in that sort of area. There's the Peretti Magnifico as well, I think.
Yes, now. Lovely.
But Menabrea for me is just it's hot and it knows it. Or premium. It is proper premium, isn't it? And I think it's a really nice drop. What do you think? Sorry, instead of me doing a monologue on it.
No, I love it. I think it perfectly encapsulates it. I think it is one of the smoothest and most flavoursome, actually. I think it's got a really interesting flavour for these Italian like premium beers. And we know there's quite a few that are playing in this category, or this space, let's say. Peroni, I guess, at the bottom level of this premium Italian lager market. You've got, and then you start moving up as well. For Birra Moretti as well is kind of a bit. I've put that a little bit higher than Peroni in my mind when it comes to flavour profiles. And then I think we talked about it before. I think Menabrea is the pinnacle when it comes to these kind of more available, premium Italian lagers. Let's put it that way. Because I don't want to say they're like full mainstream, because they've only really recently come into the UK with Augusto. You can buy them quite. They're very, very popular, obviously in Italy and around the area where they come from. But usually you find Menabrea in like restaurants like Zizzi's, don't you?
Yeah, do you know what? I've not been to one in a while, so actually I hadn't had a recent example of it. After having tried it in this pub I worked in years and years ago, it seemed to go away for me a little bit, and maybe I was just not able to. I was in the wrong place to source it, but anyway, yeah. And I think every bit of it screams premium. It sounds like a contradiction, but it kind of screams premium, but without screaming it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the not screaming about it means they're screaming it, because I feel like those other beers that we were just sort of mentioning all go, we're a premium beer.
Yeah.
Whereas Menabrea is, have a look at us. Have a look at us. Have a look at Menabrea. Taste Menabrea. You tell us what you think, whether we're premium or not.
Do you know what I think it is? It's the fact that they know they're the oldest brewery in Italy. They're over 160 years old. They're still run by a fifth generation Menabrea family member. It's like they are old, but premium and Italian chic at the same time. And I think Italian chic is the right word, because they, their bottle labels look really ornate and quite cool, but it's not. They don't look old. They look like a really nice modern take on their kind of thing. They haven't shine away and kind of hidden behind the fact that they're old and they've got old equities. They've kind of used it and repurposed it. I mean, the fact that all their glassware has Menabrea written across the side, horizontally, just shows that they're keeping up with modern trends and modern needs to be, kind of design wise. It's they haven't kind of slept on their laurels, basically, of just say, well, we're old, this is what we do. And I think there's a lot of brands out there that can learn, that are about 100, 150, 160 years old, that can learn a lot from Menabrea and how they kind of keep themselves modern and, kind of keep them youthful and relevant, basically.
Yeah. I've just lost it, but they have a really good there's just a little bit that they've put on their website, which kind of sums it up for me, is the I found it now. Sorry, bear with me because I'm just reading this out. In the stylish bars of Milan and Turin, ask for a birra and beer to you and me. Ask for a birra, and they would only serve you a Menabrea because it's the natural choice for discerning bar owners and customers. The Milan and Turin bit I think is relevant here. If you know me showing off what I know about Italy, but they're northern Italy, and northern Italy is typically the richer, more prosperous part of the country, and so people will be familiar with Milan as being, fashion week, and it's just, it's a pretty plush part of town, city in itself. Definitely. But yeah, steeped in history. I think that shows on the bottle too. They've got this quite cool. It's half. I'm going to get my dates wrong. Medievalish, but actually no, probably kind of Renaissance. It's not Renaissance, but really cool, regal looking sort of label that's like almost like a family seal. A couple of lions around a barrel, a key, and hops around the edge. Everything sort of silver on a kind of black background. It just kind of says classy to me.
And it looks nice poured out as well. It tastes good. It looks good when you pour it out because it's that they've got the blonde and the amber here in the UK, don't they? Although they've got so many more in Italy itself. So if you go to Italy, you can get their range. Their core range that we get here in the UK is just the blonde and the amber. And in Italy, that it's called the LA 150 degrees. Is this range of beers, and they've got a blonde, they've got an amber, they've got a strong version, they've got a rose version, and they've got a wheat version as well as a 0% alcohol version. Not to mention, they also have a whole specific can range that's called Arte de Bere, and it basically is just like pills, non-filtered, different style, different lagers basically, which sounds quite cool. So yeah, it's obviously. They're trying different things in places where they've got, a big kind of foothold, as you were talking about before, in places in Italy. And then when they're exporting around the rest of the world, like the UK, they're going with their tried and tested favorites, the blonde and the amber.
Yeah, I really want to try the amber actually, because to me it was almost like Menabrea is kind of synonymous with the blonde. Because that's the only one I'd ever had, and so as a result, I'm a bit like, talk to me about this amber then, because if they do it anywhere near as well as they do this, the blonde, that'll be great. It's a treat beer. I think mine 660ml from whichever shop I got it from I think it was on offer, and then it was £2.15.
Right.
So I would probably describe it as a treat particularly when it's not on offer. But it is very, very drinkable as well. I'm still trying to get the bloke who always used to come into the pub and would only drink this.
Yes.
well-heeled gentleman that he was. For the period that we had it, of course. He always said, I love that kind of honey thing going on. And actually, I'm not sure I picked that up, to be honest. But at the same time, I don't know. I was going to say nectar. It doesn't seem like too big a stretch from what he's saying. But good, strong flavour profile. So it's got a bit more going on than your bog standard lagers. Bog standard that call themselves premium. That's a bit of a jab. I didn't mean that.
Well, if Drivers is here to make some sort of quip about Timothy Taylor's, I'm sure.
Don't. I'm gonna buy him a crate. I think just have it sent, or just have one sent to his work, one to the house, so he just can't get away.
And then he has to wear his Timothy Taylor's T-shirt that I got him for his birthday last year.
It looks so good.
It does. It fits very well for him. So excellent. I mean, you look on their website for Menabrea, and obviously they've got some really old-timey photos of them back in 1897. The whole family and brewers, all laying around, with beer in hand. It all with top hats and little kind of bowler hats, on, and different kind of Italian. Yeah, it just looks very cool. Looks very cool.
I didn't quite suss out what the cool little old-fashioned 1930s type cars are, and even a 1920s sort of vehicle that they've got, which I guess they do little deliveries on.
Yeah, it looks like an old school van. I'm just looking on their website. It looks like an old van, which looks really cool. Must have been driving around delivering the beer, back in the day, little shops.
Yeah. So I kind of get these guys aren't going to go down in the obviously not going to go down in the sort of craft pantheon, as it were. But I do love they've kind of just gone. We know what we've got's good. You keep doing it. You're going to enjoy it because it is real good. So have some of that, really, lads. Luigi Menabrea. That's who I was trying to remember the name of. I think he was the chap who started. He was lived and died 1806, 1896. But he got a quality product on his hand, didn't he? I think he was in the right part of town to sell it.
I mean, they've got on the. Yes, I think you're right. I think they were in the right spot, and it just took off from there. But from what I've been reading about it, but I mean, we focus a lot on the kind of the early stages of it, and we know that it's very old. We talked about that as well. But I'm looking into the brewery today, and it looks like one of the most sophisticated looking breweries. They've got pictures and like layouts of the whole thing, and it looks really, really, really top class. They've obviously spent a lot of money, from keg filling lines through to brew houses. They've got a bottling line as well as part of it, so they can do it all on site, which is incredible. They go through their filtration. They've got a whole cellar for lager as well, as well as a fermentation cellar as well. So, they basically have got a big plot, which has been established for a long, long time, and they've just evolved the machinery within. But the building itself looks really old school. But there's like modern, facades? Modern facades, things
facades,
that go around.
I did say facades, but that's only until
new bits that are added on, basically, that look really, really nice and like keeping it looking clean and on brand for a more modern kind of take on Menabrea of a classic beer.
Yeah, brilliant. I should mention. I was also going. I nearly asked. It's Biella, isn't it? I think is the area is the town rather that Menabrea is brewed in. And it's funny that I noticed that it's a part of the world I'm quite keen to go and have a look at because this Piedmont is the actual. It's never a region, is it? It's like it's either in the region of Piedmont, which is typically known for proper nice wine as well. I think I think it's also the area for white truffle hunting, but Barolo wine is Piedmont area, and so you are in the neck of the woods of proper fancy time Italy. So hey, maybe if the podcast really takes off, we'll go and do a brewery visit.
Oh, we should do. That sounds amazing. Try some wine while we're out there. I love a Barolo.
Yeah. Barolo's the business.
So let's do some numbers for them. So Instagram UK, which is where they've recently-ish launched, and they're starting to gain a bit of traction here. Again, they're really pushing their Amber, which is new to market. So on Instagram, on the UK site, they've got 2,000 followers. Twitter, they've got 4,000 followers. And their Italian site for Instagram has 10,500 followers. So, they know where they are, basically.
Oh, yeah. The thought, sorry, it could have done this, what was it, offline, as they say.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm going to put this one forward as the first example of it, when we get to December and we normally have our little Christmas party, I think we should each put 3 beers forward that have been their favourites that they've tried this year.
Nice.
And to be fair, this kind of doesn't count because I've tried it before. And we were only in April. We're not even in April. We're in March.
Yeah.
I think Menabrea is going down as one of mine.
Nice.
We're going to have to taste some real good beers to take Menabrea out of my favourites that we've done this year.
So your 2023, your go-to beer for 2023 is going to be a Menabrea. It's a good shout. That's a big accolade, big one, especially because we've got quite a lot more beers to drink throughout the course of the year, including a whole festival of beer that we're going to.
It's a lot to go through, but also we've all got to think about it each time, basically. Yeah, and then we can do a recap of highlights this year.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, I'll Try That podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.